Hey guys, tonight we're taking a journey back in time to a place where you'd be a tiny, insignificant footnote in history. A place where the smallest mistake could mean, well, not a good night's sleep. We're going to Kyoto, Japan, in the late 12th century, and you're not a powerful daimyo or a renowned poet. Instead, you're a young child born into a low-ranking samurai family. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and wood smoke. You can almost feel the cold morning mist clinging to the rice paper screens of your humble home. Outside, the sounds of a bustling, vibrant, and incredibly dangerous world are just beginning to stir. The clatter of wooden sandals on a muddy path, the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer, these are the sounds of your world. It's a world where every waking moment is governed by strict rules, where your family's honor is more important than your own comfort, and where the threat of war is a constant, low thrum beneath the surface of daily life. You're small and easily overlooked, and in this world, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're a child, a girl, and your world is small, confined mostly to the dusty grounds of your family's modest home. The scent of cooking rice and miso soup is a constant comfort, but it's a world built on duty and tradition. Your father is a samurai, but not a great one. He's a small fish in a very big, very dangerous pond. His duty is to a higher lord, a lord who might not even know your father's name. You see him only in the evenings, a quiet, tired man who smells of sweat and steel. His armor is more functional than beautiful, and his swords are tools of his trade, not works of art. You often sit and watch your mother mend his clothes, her movements precise and practiced, just like the delicate strokes of a calligraphy brush. Your mother is the true heart of the home, a silent, powerful force who manages the household with an iron will. She teaches you the etiquette of a samurai daughter, how to bow, how to serve tea, how to speak only when spoken to in the tiny garden. Outside, you trace patterns in the raked sand, a quiet game you play with yourself. You're taught that a woman's strength lies in her grace and her ability to manage a household. She is the anchor, the calm center in the storm of a samurai's life. But you're a curious child, and your eyes often drift to the training grounds where your father and his few retainers practice. The rhythmic thwack of wooden swords, the low grunts of effort, the sharp cries of a strike. Connecting these sounds are like music to you, a forbidden symphony. You're told this is not for you. Your path is a different one, a path of silk and service. You're supposed to be learning the art of the tea ceremony, the delicate handling of a fan, and the precise way to arrange flowers in a vase. M-A-I-N-S-T-R-E-A-M. Historical fact you learn early is the importance of family lineage. Your family is part of the Minamoto clan, one of the two great samurai clans vying for control of Japan. Your father serves a minor lord who, in turn, serves a greater lord who eventually answers to the Minamoto clan leader. It's a vast, intricate spider web of allegiances. A quirky tidbit is that even the lowliest samurai families like yours often had a family crest, or mon, that was just as intricate and meaningful as the crests of the great lords. Your family's mon is a stylized lotus flower, a symbol of purity and rebirth. It's stitched onto your father's banner and painted onto the rice paper lanterns in your home. You're told to be proud of this symbol, even if your family's standing is low. It's a promise of what your family could be, a hope for a better future. Historians still argue whether these lower-ranking samurai felt a stronger loyalty to their immediate lord or to the greater clan, and you can sense that tension in the quiet worry on your father's face. You see his loyalty split between his lord's commands and the needs of his family, a constant, unspoken tug-of-war. For now, though, you are just a child, and your world is confined to the quiet duties of your home. A gentle hum of daily life before the coming storm, the days of your childhood blur into a quiet, structured rhythm. You wake to the sound of the family well pulley creaking, the splash of water as your mother begins her morning chores. Your small home, while humble, is a testament to the samurai code of discipline and order. Everything has its place, from the polished wooden floorboards to the neat stack of futons in the corner. You're taught the importance of cleanliness, not just for hygiene, but as a reflection of inner purity. You spend your mornings sweeping the courtyard, the bamboo broom making a gentle scratching sound against the stone. Your movements are slow and deliberate, a form of meditation in itself. You're not just cleaning a space, you're purifying it. And honestly, it's a lot more relaxing than doing chores in a modern household with all its loud beeping appliances, right? Imagine trying to meditate while your dishwasher is on its final, aggressive rinse cycle. The afternoons are filled with lessons in wifely duties. Your mother teaches you how to sew, your small fingers fumbling with a needle and thread, creating precise, invisible stitches. You learn to prepare meals, grinding miso paste with a stone pestle and mortar. The rhythmic thump, thump, a calming backdrop to your thoughts. The flavors are simple, fresh, and deeply connected to the seasons. In spring, you might have bamboo shoots. In winter, a hearty stew of root vegetables. This connection to the land is a quirky tidbit of your existence. Your family is technically part of the warrior class, but your life is rooted in the soil, in the seasonal cycles of the earth. You're a samurai's daughter, but your hands are calloused from tending a small kitchen garden, not from gripping a sword. One of your most important lessons is the concept of Bushido, the samurai code of honor. You learn about loyalty, duty, and courage. Your father tells you a mainstream historical fact. A samurai's honor is his most valuable possession. A samurai would rather die than live in shame. It's a very dramatic concept for a small child to wrap her head around. You picture a man choosing to die over something like spilling a cup of tea. It seems a bit much, but as you watch your father, his face etched with quiet worry, you begin to understand the immense pressure he lives under. His entire existence is a balancing act of honor and survival. You also learn a great deal about the proper way to address different ranks of people, a complex social hierarchy that dictates every interaction. Historians still argue whether the Bushido Code was a unified philosophy or a collection of ideals that varied from clan to clan and from era to era. It's not as if there was a samurai rule book you could buy at a bookshop. Your understanding of it is passed down through the quiet example of your parents, in the way your father carries himself with dignity and in the way your mother maintains the order of your home. In the quiet evenings, after your family has eaten, you listen to your father's stories of great battles and heroic warriors. He speaks of Minamoto, no Yoritomo, and Taira, no Kiyomori, the leaders of the two great clans, whose rivalry is like a storm cloud on the horizon. He describes their deeds in a soft, low voice, careful not to disturb the peace of the night. You sit in the glow of a single oil lamp, the flickering light casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. The stories are filled with daring sword fights and clever strategies, but they always end with a quiet reminder of the duty and sacrifice required. You're a girl, and these stories are not meant to inspire you to wield a sword, but to appreciate the weight of the world your family lives in. They're a reminder that your purpose is to be the calm center, the quiet strength that allows your father to face the storm. For now, you are content with this role. Your world, a small, peaceful island in a sea of coming conflict. But as you grow, a quiet unease begins to stir within you. The stories of your father and the tales of great warriors start to feel less like fables and more like a calling. You watch your elder brother, a boy only a few years older than you, begin his formal training with the bakken, the wooden practice sword, the way he holds it, the focused look in his eyes. It's a world you're explicitly told you can't enter, while he is practicing the 7 strikes of the samurai sword. You are practicing the 7 strokes of the calligraphy brush. A girl's place, you are told, is in the home, a soft hand to soothe the weary warrior. You're supposed to be a graceful ornament, a calming presence, not a weapon. You're supposed to be like the gentle Yum blossom, not the sharp edge of a sword. It's a bit like being told you can't play with a cool new toy, and it makes you want to play with it even more. You discover a small, forgotten corner behind the family shed where a few discarded bamboo stalks lie. These stalks, you find, are the perfect length and weight for a child's hands. They are your secret bakken. Every day, when your family believes you are tending to the garden or running an errand for your mother, you slip away to your secret training ground. You mimic the movements you've seen your brother practice, the fluid blocks, the sharp thrusts. You pretend the bamboo stalk is a real sword, a katana, and you are a powerful warrior defending your home. The only sounds are the rustle of leaves and the gentle swish of the bamboo through the air. You're teaching yourself how to fight, and the feeling is electrifying. It's a quiet rebellion, a secret life lived just a few feet away from your family's watchful eyes. It's not about glory, it's about a deep, unspoken need to be more than a delicate blossom. A mainstream historical fact you learn, perhaps from a passing conversation your father has with a neighbor, is that many samurai families, even lower-ranking ones, had a small armory of their own. It might be nothing more than a few spears and an old bow, but they were kept in good repair. A quirky tidbit is that even for children, the training was incredibly rigorous, starting with basics like proper posture and footwork. Your self-taught method is probably a mess of bad habits, but you're working with what you've got. And let's be honest, you're not exactly going to march up to your dad and say, "Hey, can you teach me how to fight? I'm feeling a little left out." Historians still argue about the extent to which women in this era were allowed to train in martial arts. While it was not common, there are historical accounts of women being taught to defend their homes with a naginata, a long pole with a curved blade. These were typically women of the samurai class, trained to protect themselves and their families in case of attack while the men were away. Your secret practice feels both rebellious and, in a way, deeply traditional. You're preparing yourself to protect your home, even if no one has given you permission to do so. This dual life is exhausting. You spend your days learning the delicate art of flower, arranging your hands, carefully placing each stem just so, and your evenings secretly swinging a bamboo stalk, your muscles aching with a new kind of fatigue. You feel like you're living two separate lives in the same body. The girl who bows her head in submission is a different person from the one who practices with a makeshift sword in the fading light of a setting sun. The gap between these two worlds is growing wider every day, and you know, deep in your heart, that at some point they will have to collide. For now, though, you cherish your secret. It is a part of you that is entirely your own, a flicker of a different future, a life not yet written. The quiet rhythms of your life are shattered by the sound of a drum, a deep, resonating beat that echoes through the valley. It's a sound you've heard in stories, but never in reality. It is the call to war. The Genpei War has begun. The two great clans, the Minamoto and the Taira, have officially begun their struggle for dominance. Suddenly, the quiet anxieties of your father's life become a deafening reality. You watch as he polishes his armor, a practical, slightly affair, not the gleaming, lacquered pieces you've seen in pictures. The family crest of the lotus flower on his banner feels less like a symbol of hope and more like a target. It's an interesting quirk of the period that a family's crest, something meant to bring them honor and pride, was also what made them so easily identifiable on the battlefield. You could tell who was who and who was in what clan with just a glance. It's like everyone is wearing a uniform with their name on it, except the name is a stylized flower, and getting it wrong means a spear to the chest. Your peaceful home is now a flurry of activity. Your mother is packing provisions, drying strips of meat, and preparing small, hardened rice cakes for your father's journey. Your brother, barely a teenager, is also preparing to go. He is a mix of terror and excitement, a feeling you can understand but not share. You're left behind, a girl whose duty is to pray for the safety of her family. It feels like a very small and, frankly, unhelpful job. You stand by the gate as your father and brother ride off with a handful of other samurai from your small village. They look so small and vulnerable against the vastness of the road ahead. You're told to be brave, to be strong for your mother, but all you feel is a cold knot of fear in your stomach. A mainstream historical fact of this era is that the war was not just a series of large-scale battles. It was a long, drawn-out conflict with many small skirmishes, raids, and sieges. This meant that even a low-ranking samurai like your father would be involved in the fighting, not just the famous battles. The war would rage for 5 years, from 1180 to 1185, and it would change the political landscape of Japan forever. Setting the stage for the first shogunate, a quirky tidbit is that before a major battle, it was common for samurai to engage in a formal archery duel. They would ride out on horseback, exchange boasts and insults, and then fire a single arrow at each other. It was a very dramatic, very specific way to start a fight. You can almost picture your father, a quiet man, trying to think of something witty and intimidating to say to his opponent before shooting. Historians still argue about the exact number of samurai who participated in these battles. While some sources claim tens of thousands, others suggest the numbers were far smaller, and the large numbers were a literary exaggeration to enhance the scale of the conflict. The days turn into weeks, and the weeks into months. News from the front is scarce and often delayed. You hear snippets from travelers and merchants passing through your village. Stories of great victories and devastating defeats. You hear the name Minamoto no Yoshitsune whispered, with a mix of awe and fear, brilliant young general for your clan, a warrior with a seemingly supernatural gift for strategy. You also hear of the Taire's fierce resistance. The world is a storm, and you are trapped on a small, quiet island. You continue your secret training with the bamboo stalk, but now it feels different. It's no longer just a rebellion. It's a desperate preparation. You're no longer just pretending to be a warrior. You're imagining a day when you might actually have to be one. The quiet confidence of your childhood has been replaced by a grim determination. You've been told to be a calming presence, but all you want to do is grab a real sword and join the storm. The opportunity you've been secretly waiting for arrives, not with a flourish, but with a whisper of desperation. A small Taira raiding party, a group of bandits more than true samurai, has been harassing the outskirts of your village. There, stealing crops and livestock, and the few remaining men too old or too young to join the main armies are too few to stop them. A small skirmish is inevitable, and your father is not here to lead. Your brother, who has returned from his first taste of battle with a new, somber look in his eyes, is the highest ranking samurai left. He's tasked with leading the defense, and you see the fear in his eyes. This is your chance. It's not glorious, it's not a grand battle, but it is real. You've been a student of war from the sidelines for so long, and now the test has arrived. You don't ask for permission. You simply take a set of your brother's old clothes, armor that is too small for him but fits you well enough. You tie your long hair back tightly and cover your face with a simple scarf, leaving only your eyes visible. You become a shadow, a figure that is neither man nor woman. Your bamboo stalk is left behind, replaced with a small, light spear from the family armory, a weapon you've only ever held in your secret practice sessions. It feels heavier than you imagined, but the balance is surprisingly good. This is a mainstream historical fact of the era. Many samurai, especially lower-ranking ones, fought with spears or bows, as a sword was often a secondary weapon. The sword was a symbol of honor, but a spear was a practical tool of war. You, in your first taste of combat, feel the weight of practicality in your hands. Your brother, too preoccupied with his own fear and the weight of his new command, doesn't notice you. Among the small group of villagers and old men, the sun is setting, casting long, peaceful shadows over the fields, a stark contrast to the thumping of your heart. It's a quirky tidbit that many samurai, especially those of a lower rank, would wear simple, undecorated armor in battle, not the colorful, elaborate armor you see in paintings. This was not for lack of style, but for practicality. It was easier to repair and less likely to attract the attention of a more powerful enemy. Your armor is a dented, well-worn collection of leather and metal, a patchwork of your family's history, and it feels like a second skin. As you wait in the tall grass for the bandits to approach, you realize that all those hours of silent practice, all the quiet repetitions, were not for naught. When the bandits arrive, they are disorganized and arrogant, expecting an easy raid. They are not expecting a quiet girl with a spear. The skirmish is brief and chaotic. You don't think, you just react. You remember the motions, the blocks, the thrusts. The spear is an extension of your arm, and you use it to keep the enemy at a distance, to poke and prod and create openings for the other villagers. You are not a master, but you are not helpless either. You duck under a wild swing, and you push your spear forward, not to kill, but to surprise. The bandit stumbles backward, and your brother, seeing the opportunity, finishes him off. The battle ends as quickly as it began. You're breathing heavily, your muscles aching, but you are alive. You have done it. Historians still argue about the exact role and frequency of women fighting in these small-scale conflicts. While some accounts mention female warriors, they are often seen as exceptions rather than the norm. You, in this moment, are one of those exceptions, a silent warrior in the tall grass. You stand in the quiet aftermath of the skirmish, the adrenaline slowly draining from your body. You've fought and you've survived. The feeling is a mixture of exhaustion and a kind of fierce pride you've never known before. Your brother, seeing your effectiveness in the fight, pulls you aside. He's seen you, really seen you, for the first time. The mask of your scarf and the borrowed clothes couldn't hide the truth of your skill. He doesn't chide you for your deception. He looks at you with a new respect, a new understanding. You are no longer just his little sister. You are a warrior, a silent protector of your family. He makes a decision, one born of necessity and a deep love for his family. He gives you a new name, a masculine-sounding one, and a new identity. He tells the other villagers that you are a distant cousin, a boy who came to help in the time of need. You are now, for all intents and purposes, a new person. It's a very practical solution to a complicated problem, and honestly, a testament to the fact that sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. Gender roles be darned. Your new name, a simple but strong one, feels like a key to a new world. You are no longer just a girl, a daughter, a sister. You are a warrior, an equal. You are given a better set of armor, one that fits you, and a real katana from the family armory. A mainstream historical fact you learn is that the samurai sword, the katana, was considered the soul of the samurai. It was not just a weapon. It was a symbol of their honor and their very identity. A quirky tidbit is that the process of forging a single katana could take months, and it involved multiple layers of steel, each one folded over and over again to create an incredibly sharp and durable blade. Your sword, while not a masterwork, is a work of art, and it feels impossibly heavy and impossibly powerful in your hand. You spend hours cleaning and maintaining it, feeling the weight of your new identity. Historians still argue whether such a complete transformation of identity would have been possible for a woman in this era. While there are accounts of women fighting, they often did so openly as women, sometimes leading their own armies. Your story is different. You are hiding in plain sight, a secret warrior in a world of men. The fear of being discovered is a constant, low-level thrum in your mind, but it is overshadowed by the freedom you feel. You are no longer confined to the quiet duties of the household. You are now a part of the world, a player in the great game of war. You train openly now with your brother and with the other villagers. You are no longer mimicking movements. You are learning the real art of war, the brutal, unglamorous reality of it. You learn how to use a bow, how to ride a horse, and how to fight with a spear and a sword. Your days are no longer about sweeping and sewing. They are about practice, strategy, and preparation. In the evenings, you sit with the other men, listening to them talk about the war, about the great battles and the great generals. You listen to them complain about their armor, their aching muscles, and the food. You feel like you're on the inside now, a part of a world that was once forbidden to you. You are still a girl, of course, a secret tucked away inside a man's clothing, but for the first time in your life, you feel like you are exactly where you are supposed to be. You are a warrior, and you are ready for whatever comes next. Your new identity, Ren, gives you a kind of freedom you never imagined. You're no longer confined to the village. With your brother, you join a larger force, a small detachment of Minamoto samurai on their way to join a major campaign. You're just a low-ranking foot soldier, one of many, but you are there. The road is long and hard, and you learn a new kind of discipline, the discipline of the march. You walk for miles, your borrowed armor and sword growing heavier with each step. You learn to eat whatever is given to you, to sleep wherever you can find a dry spot, and to keep your mouth shut. The other samurai, a mix of seasoned veterans and fresh-faced boys, see you as one of their own, a quiet, unassuming warrior who is surprisingly good with a spear. You don't make a big deal of your skills. You just use them. Your prowess in battle, honed in your secret practices, and your first skirmish earns you a quiet respect. It's not about flashy moves or heroic charges. It's about being reliable, about holding your ground, and about knowing when to strike and when to retreat. In a chaotic skirmish against a Tyra scouting party, you find yourself fighting with a grizzled old veteran. He's a samurai who has seen it all, and he fights with a kind of weary efficiency. When a Tyra warrior gets past his guard, you're there, your spear a blur of motion to drive the enemy back. He gives you a look, a small nod of appreciation, and you know you've earned your place. This quiet recognition is worth more to you than any loud praise. A mainstream historical fact of this era is that camaraderie among samurai, especially those in the same unit, was crucial for survival on the battlefield. You relied on the man next to you to have your back, and he relied on you. It's a bit like being on a sports team where the stakes are incredibly, impossibly high. A quirky tidbit you learn from the old veteran is that samurai would often paint their armor with designs that were more intimidating than beautiful. They might paint a fierce demon or a snarling beast on their chest plate to frighten their enemies. He tells you a story of a samurai who painted his armor to look like a giant eyeball, so his enemies would think he was a god. It's a ridiculous story, but you can imagine it happening. It's a world where appearances and reputation were just as important as skill. Historians still argue whether the Bushido Code, which emphasized honor and loyalty, was truly followed by all samurai. Some scholars suggest that many samurai were more concerned with personal gain and power than with a rigid code of ethics. In your experience, you see both sides. You see men who are fiercely loyal to their lord and to each other, and you also see men who are opportunistic and greedy. The line between hero and villain, you learn. is often a very thin one. As you rise through the ranks, you are given more responsibility. You are no longer just a foot soldier. You are now a leader of a small unit. You are in charge of a handful of other men, and their lives are in your hands. It's a heavy burden, a new kind of pressure you've never felt before. You are no longer just fighting for yourself. You are fighting for them. Your secret identity is a constant, low hum of anxiety in the back of your mind, but you push it down, focusing on your duty. You are a warrior, a leader, and a secret. And in this moment, that is all that matters. The ceaseless rhythm of war, the marching and the fighting, is punctuated by a brief and much needed moment of peace. Your Lord's army has secured a temporary victory, pushing the Tyra forces back. You are given a few weeks of leave, a chance to return to your village and your family. The journey back is a quiet one, a stark contrast to the urgency of the march to war. You walk with a group of other samurai, all of you weary, all of you grateful for the respite. As you get closer to your village, the familiar sense of wood smoke and damp earth feel like a warm embrace. You've been away for what feels like a lifetime, and the quiet, simple life of your home feels like a distant dream. When you arrive, your mother, seeing your brother, and then seeing you, doesn't say a word. She just pulls you into a fierce, silent hug, her hands tracing the lines of your face. You can feel her relief, her worry, and her quiet pride. You are still Ren to the village, a young warrior who has returned from a campaign, but to her, you are still her child, her daughter, and she sees past the armor and the sword to the person underneath. This quiet moment of recognition is a small but powerful joy. It's a quirky tidbit of your life that your true identity is a secret known only to your immediate family, a tiny pocket of truth in a world of deception. During this time of peace, you find yourself reconnecting with the small joys you once took for granted. You help your mother in the garden, your calloused hands surprisingly gentle as you pull weeds. You sit by the river, watching the sunlight glint off the water, a simple beauty you hadn't realized you missed so much. It's a mainstream historical fact that for many samurai, a life of war was a reality, but so was a life of farming and daily chores. Many low-ranking samurai were also farmers, and their lives were a constant negotiation between the two worlds. For you, the contrast between the brutal world of war and the gentle world of the garden is a constant reminder of who you are and what you are fighting for. You also spend time with your father, a man who has grown older and wearier in the time you've been gone. He sees the woman you've become, the warrior you are, and his quiet pride is almost unbearable. He teaches you a few more tricks with the spear, a few more moves with the sword. He knows your secret, and he is helping you become a better version of yourself. Historians still argue whether the Bushido Code, which often emphasized a samurai's duty to his lord above all else, also included a silent duty to one's family. You feel this duality every day. You have a duty to your lord, yes, but your greatest duty is to the quiet love and support of your family, the people who have allowed you to become the person you are. This moment of peace is a fragile thing, a quiet eye in the center of a storm. You know it can't last, but for now, you cherish every second of it. The fragile peace of your village is shattered not by a Tyra raid, but by a threat from within. A young samurai, a neighbor you have known your entire life, returns from the war on leave, and he sees through your disguise. He's a cruel, ambitious boy who always looked down on your family's low status. He recognizes your fighting style, a particular thrust with the spear you had honed in your secret practices. He remembers it from the skirmish that earned you your new identity. He confronts you in the quiet of the night, not with a sword, but with a sneer. He threatens to expose you, to reveal your secret to the whole army, a revelation that would not only bring shame upon your family, but would also likely result in your death. A woman fighting in a man's army, no matter how skilled, was seen as a grave offense, a deception that could not be tolerated. He tells you he will keep your secret, but only if you give him something in returns, something you can't and won't give. This is a quiet, personal kind of betrayal, and it feels far more dangerous than any sword fight. A mainstream historical fact of this era is that the samurai class, while bound by codes of honor, was also rife with internal politics, rivalries, and jealousy. A low-ranking samurai's success could often be met with resentment from their peers. It's a quirk of human nature that people are often more threatened by a peer's success than a rival's. The whisper of a secret is often more powerful than the clang of a sword. You remember the old veteran who painted his armor with an eyeball to frighten his enemies. You think how easy it is to fight a monster you can see, and how difficult it is to fight a monster who looks just like your neighbor. Historians still argue about the extent of political maneuvering and backstabbing within the samurai ranks. Some scholars suggest that the idealized version of the samurai as men of pure honor and loyalty is a literary invention. In this moment, you are seeing the truth of that. This boy, this neighbor, is not a warrior of honor. He is a coward, preys on the secrets of others. The confrontation is tense, quiet. You stand your ground. You will not give in to his demands. You will not dishonor yourself or your family to protect a secret he is using as a weapon. You tell him to do what he must. You will not be blackmailed. The next day, you find a small, intricate drawing of a lotus flower, your family's crest, nailed to the door of your home. It's a silent, ominous message. He hasn't exposed you yet, but he is getting closer. The peace of your village is gone, replaced by a new kind of anxiety. You are now fighting a war on two fronts: the external war against the Taira and the internal war against a traitor within your own ranks. You are no longer just a warrior fighting for your lord. You are a woman fighting for her life, her family, and her honor against a small-minded, petty man. The weight of your new identity feels heavy and dangerous once again. The threat from your neighbor is not a bluff. You find out he has left to join the main army again, a move that means he is likely on his way to expose you to a higher-ranking official, a lord who would see your deception as a serious breach of honor. You know you can't stay to be exposed. Now would not only mean your death, but it would bring shame and disgrace upon your entire family, a shame they don't deserve. You are a warrior, a samurai, and you know what you have to do. You have to disappear. It's a bitter pill to swallow, this self-imposed exile, but it's the only way to protect the people you love. The secret that gave you freedom has now become a chain, and the only way to break it is to run. It's a lot to deal with, right? One day you're a quiet girl, the next you're a warrior, and now you have to become a ghost. Life just keeps throwing Curveballs. You say your goodbyes in the quiet of the night. Your parents understand, their faces a mixture of sorrow and pride. Your brother, the man who gave you this new identity, gives you a small bag of coins and a new unadorned wakizashi, the shorter companion sword to your katana. It is a sign of his love and his respect, a silent blessing on your journey. He tells you to be safe, to live, and to never forget who you are. This is a mainstream historical fact of the era. Samurai would often have a short sword, or wakizashi, as a secondary weapon. It was considered just as much a part of their identity as the katana, and it was a weapon of close quarters combat, a final line of defense. A quirky tidbit is that the wakizashi was also one of the few weapons a samurai was allowed to wear indoors, and it was used for the ritual suicide known as seppuku. You hope you never have to use it for that purpose. You slip into the night, leaving your village and your family behind. The path is dark and unfamiliar, and you rely on your training and your instincts to guide you. You are no longer a part of a unit, no longer a part of a family. You are a lone warrior, a ronin, a samurai without a master. The freedom you felt when you first put on your armor is now replaced by a deep sense of loneliness and uncertainty. Where do you go? What do you do? Historians still argue about the true lives of ronin. While they are often romanticized as wandering heroes, many scholars suggest that life as a ronin was a brutal struggle for survival, a life of poverty and desperation. You are walking into that reality, a world without the safety net of a lord or a family. You use your knowledge of the land, your skills with a spear, and your wits to survive. You hunt for food, you find shelter in forgotten caves and abandoned shrines, and you avoid the main roads, where your identity as a samurai would be too obvious. You are a ghost in the landscape, a whisper of a warrior in a world of war. The only thing you have is your skills, your sword, and the silent love of your family. A love that is now a memory, but a powerful one. You are alone, but you are not broken. You are a woman, a warrior, and you are free. Life as a lone warrior, a ronin, is a harsh teacher. The romanticized stories of wandering heroes fade away, replaced by the grim reality of survival. You spend your days on the fringes of society, an unseen observer of the world you once belonged to. The simple comforts of your old life, a warm meal, a dry futon, the quiet companionship of your family are now luxuries you can only dream of. A mainstream historical fact you learn is that many ronin were forced to take on dangerous and unglamorous work to survive. They might serve as temporary guards for merchants, or even as bodyguards for a wealthy peasant. You take on a similar existence, offering your skills to those who can afford them. A few coins here and there for a week of protection, a few meals for clearing a road of bandits. It's a far cry from the glorious battles you once dreamed of, but it is honest work, and it keeps you alive. You learn to be a chameleon, to blend into the background. You trade your samurai armor for a more practical, less conspicuous set of clothes, a simple farmer's tunic and trousers. Your sword, the symbol of your honor, is now a carefully hidden secret, a last resort. You learn to fight with a staff or a simple knife, anything that won't draw attention to you. It's a quirky tidbit of your life that you're a samurai who can't look like a samurai. You are a warrior in disguise, and your greatest weapon is your anonymity. You hear stories of the ongoing war, of the great battles, of the Minamoto clan's slow but steady rise to power. You are a ghost, a whisper in the wind, a warrior watching from the shadows. Historians still argue about the true social standing and perception of ronin. Were they seen as disgraced samurai or as independent warriors who had chosen a different path? You see both sides. Some people treat you with a kind of wary respect, a sense that you are a dangerous person who should be avoided. Others, the peasants and merchants who hire you, treat you with a kind of desperate gratitude, seeing you as a protector in a world of chaos. You are neither a hero nor a villain. You are just a person trying to survive, a ghost of a samurai in a world that has forgotten you. You find a kind of peace in this existence, a quiet solitude that allows you to think, to reflect, to come to terms with the choices you have made. You are no longer fighting for a lord or a clan. You are fighting for yourself and for the people who need you. It's a new purpose, a new kind of honor. You find yourself wandering through a mountainous region, a place of quiet beauty and hidden dangers. The path is difficult, and the air is thin and cold. You come upon a small village nestled in a hidden valley, a place of simple mud-walled houses and fields of rice. The villagers are poor, but they are content, living a life of peace far from the wars that plague the rest of the country. This is a quiet, forgotten corner of the world, and you feel an immediate sense of belonging, but the peace is an illusion. The village is plagued by bandits, a group of ex-samurai who have been displaced by the war. They raid the village for food and supplies, and the villagers, who are simple farmers, are helpless to stop them. You see their desperation, their quiet fear, and something stirs within you. You are a warrior, a samurai, and you have skills that can help these people. You offer your services to the village elder, not for money, but for a place to stay, for food, and for a chance to find a new purpose. The elder, a wise old man with kind eyes, accepts your offer with a mix of gratitude and skepticism. He has seen other ronin pass through, men who promised protection and then stole from the very people they were supposed to be protecting. But he sees something different in you. He sees a quiet strength, a sense of honor that is not for sale. A mainstream historical fact of this era is that many small villages were left to fend for themselves during the Genpei War, with the main armies far away, and they were often at the mercy of bandits and other rogue groups. You, in this moment, are their only hope. You spend your days training the villagers. You teach them how to use farm tools as weapons, how to set simple traps, and how to work together as a unit. They are not warriors, but they are brave, and they are willing to fight for their homes. You see a kind of quiet determination in their eyes, a will to survive that is just as strong as any samurai's. It's a quirky tidbit that a well-placed pitchfork can be just as deadly as a sword, and a group of determined farmers can be a formidable force. You're not training them to be warriors. You're training them to be survivors. Historians still argue about the true effectiveness of peasant militias in this era. While they are often romanticized in stories, many scholars suggest they were no match for a trained samurai. You, however, believe that a warrior is not just a person with a sword, but a person with a purpose. And these villagers have a purpose as strong as any samurai. You find a new sense of belonging in this village. a new sense of purpose. You are no longer just a ghost, a wanderer. You are a protector, a teacher, a leader. You are a woman, a samurai, and a defender of a quiet valley. The sword on your hip, once a symbol of your secret and your burden, is now a symbol of your duty, your new life, and your honor. You are no longer running from your past. You are fighting for your future, and for the future of the people who have accepted you as one of their own. The bandits, seeing the village's newfound resilience, decide to make a final, decisive strike. They gather their forces, a larger group than before, and descend upon the quiet valley with the intent of crushing this rebellion. This is the final battle, a desperate, last-stand defense of a small village against a force of trained, albeit disorganized, warriors. You stand at the head of your small, makeshift army, a group of farmers armed with sharpened bamboo poles, sickles, and pitchforks. You are a woman, a samurai, a leader, and in this moment, you are everything to these people. The sun is setting, casting long, peaceful shadows over the valley, a stark contrast to the grim reality of the coming fight. It's a lot like the first time you fought, isn't it? The same kind of peaceful, beautiful setting for a very unpeaceful event. You stand at the front, your sword drawn, a symbol of hope and defiance. You have taught them everything you can, but their success will depend on their courage, their will to protect their homes, and their ability to fight as one. You give a signal, and the villagers, with a mix of fear and determination, raise their makeshift weapons. A mainstream historical fact of this era is that peasant uprisings, while often outmatched, were not uncommon. They were a sign of the deep unrest and dissatisfaction that the samurai class often ignored. You are not leading an uprising, but a defense, a small act of defiance against a world that has forgotten these people. The battle is chaotic and brutal. The bandits, overconfident and disorganized, charge into the village, expecting an easy victory. They are met not with fear, but with a wall of determined farmers. You are a blur of motion, your sword a flash of steel in the fading light. You don't just fight, you lead, you shout commands, you push your villagers forward, you parry a blow meant for a young farmer. You are a storm, and you are fighting for the quiet, peaceful life of this valley, for the simple beauty of a field of rice, for the right of these people to live in peace. It's a quirky tidbit that in battle, a warrior's spirit was often just as important as their skill. These villagers, with their simple tools and their fierce determination, have a spirit that is stronger than any army. Historians still argue about the true power and influence of individual samurai on the battlefield, while some scholars believe that large armies and grand strategies were the only things that mattered. Others suggest that a single, skilled warrior could change the tide of a battle. In this moment, you are that warrior. You are the pivot point, the rock upon which this battle will turn. The battle is a long, arduous struggle, but eventually, the bandits, surprised and outmatched by the villagers' ferocity, break and flee. The village is safe. You stand in the quiet aftermath of the fight, your body aching, your sword dripping with blood, and you feel a sense of peace you've never known before. You have found your purpose, not in a grand battle for a great lord, but in a small valley, fighting for the quiet lives of a few simple farmers. In the quiet years that follow, the world outside your valley continues to churn. The Minamoto clan eventually triumphs, and a new era, the Kamakura shogunate, begins. But the wars and the politics of the great clans are a distant echo, a whisper on the wind. You have found your quiet corner of the world, and you have made it your own. You live out your final years in a small, simple hut, not in the village itself, but on the outskirts, a place of quiet solitude where you can watch over the valley. The villagers, now safe and prosperous, treat you with a kind of reverence, not as a warrior, but as a guardian spirit. They bring you food and water, and they ask for your advice, not on how to fight, but on how to live. You spend your days in quiet reflection. Your sword, once a tool of war, is now a symbol of peace, a beautiful, polished piece of steel that sits on a stand in your hut. It's a mainstream historical fact that many samurai, after a life of war, would retire to a monastery or a temple, seeking a life of quiet contemplation. You, in your own way, have created your own monastery, a place of peace and reflection. You teach the children of the village not how to fight, but how to be strong, how to be honest, and how to be kind. You tell them stories of your past, not of the glorious battles, but of the quiet moments of peace, of the small joys of a life lived with honor. It's a quirky tidbit of your life that you, a woman who once had to hide her identity, are now a living legend, a storyteller of your own life. Historians still argue about the role of women in the samurai class after the wars. While some scholars believe they were relegated to the household, others suggest that many, like you, found a new purpose, a new way to be a warrior in a time of peace. You, in your quiet hut, are proof of that. You are a living history, a testament to the fact that a warrior's spirit is not defined by their gender or their sword, but by their actions and their heart. You are a woman, a samurai, a teacher, a guardian, and you are content. You have lived a life of two halves, one of war and one of peace, and in the end, you have found a quiet balance, a gentle rhythm that soothes your soul. The sun rises and sets over the valley, the quiet rhythm of the seasons, a gentle pulse in your final years. You are a repository of stories, a living memory, but you know that your story is a quiet one, a whisper in the grand history of a nation. The great chronicles of the Genpei War will mention Minamoto no Yoritomo and Minamoto no Yoshituna. They will speak of the great battles, of the rise of the samurai, and of the establishment of the shogunate. They will not mention a quiet, low-ranking samurai's daughter who fought in disguise. Your name, Ren, will be forgotten, and your true name, the one you were given at birth, will be known only to the wind and the trees of this quiet valley. This is a mainstream historical fact that history is often written by the victors, and it often forgets the small, personal stories, the quiet acts of courage that don't fit into the grand narrative. As you sit in your hut, watching the sunlight glint off the rice fields, you think about how history will remember you, or rather, how it won't. You won't be in the epic poems, you won't be a character in a play, and you won't have a statue in a town square. You will be a forgotten figure, a ghost in the annals of time, and in a way, that's okay. Your legacy is not in the history books. It is in the quiet courage of the villagers who learned to defend themselves. It is in the gentle wisdom you have passed down to the children. It is in the peaceful rhythm of this valley, a rhythm you helped to protect. It's a quirky tidbit that the truest form of legacy is not in being remembered by a nation, but in being remembered by a few people, by a community, by a single quiet valley. Historians still argue about the true number of forgotten heroes and heroines of this era. While we have a few famous names, many scholars believe that there were countless others, people who, like you, performed great acts of courage that were never recorded. You, in your quiet old age, are a testament to that. Your legacy is not in your name, but in your deeds. The quiet rhythm of the wind, the gentle rustle of the leaves, the distant sound of a child's laughter. These are the final echoes of your life, the final lines of your story. Your time is coming to an end, and you are ready. You close your eyes, and you listen to the quiet, peaceful sounds of the valley you fought so hard to protect. A final lullaby to a long and complicated life. The world outside is a distant, gentle hum, a quiet song of the past. The battles are over, the noise has faded, and all that remains is the soft, peaceful silence. The air is still and cool. Your breathing slows, becoming a gentle, even rhythm. A soft breeze whispers through the open door, carrying the scent of rain and damp earth. You are safe. You are at peace. The long, winding road of your life has come to an end, and you can finally rest. Let the worries of the world, the duties of the day, and the thoughts of the past fade away. There is only the quiet, the darkness, and the gentle rhythm of your breath. The story is over, and your journey has come to its peaceful, sleepy end. Drift now into the soft darkness. Let the gentle sounds of the world lull you into a deep and restful sleep. Good night.